Welcome into Locked On 76ers. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta. 76ers get a huge win over the Houston Rockets in epic fashion. Needed overtime, but that overtime should have never happened. Talk about all that and more in this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the #1 sports podcast network out there. And this particular episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Keith Pompey, your 76ers beat writer for Inquirer.com. Marc Farzetta, a veteran sports talker with you in the city of brotherly love. The Knicks are on Saturday. That's tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Sixers won yesterday in big fashion, epic fashion to say it again, against the Rockets. Hopefully they can keep it going. Kelly Oubre jumps into the starting lineup, and Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Let's see. We've covered it all so far this year, Keith. We've talked about the big four. We've talked about the big three. And now we can kind of whittle it down to the dynamic duo last night that combined for 68 points, Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. That included a game-high matching Kevin Durant, 36 points for Maxey, and a triple-double for Joel Embiid. A great win last night for the 76ers, my man.
Yeah, it was a great win for the 76ers, and it's funny, and I got to give this guy credit. It was a couple of weeks ago, now maybe a month ago, and I was on the phone with an executive, and he was saying, you know what, Keith? Joel Embiid has to get triple doubles for them to beat good teams. And I was like, And he was like, you know what? He has to be the Joker. And when we talked about it, he was like, look, Joel Embiid can do that. I mean, the way that this offense is supposed to be set up, Joel Embiid has to make other teammates better. And what that is by racking up assists, but he has to grab rebounds, and he has to realize that the ball is going to come back to him and he's going to get scoring opportunities. So when I look at this game and what Tyrese Maxey did was phenomenal, right? It was phenomenal, but it comes to a point where we've started to get used to it, right? You know what I mean? Like, he's averaging 30 points a game. So when you look at it and you say to yourself, why did the 76ers win this game? And I look at it as if Joel Embiid and the play of Kelly Oubre, right? So Joel Embiid, what did he have? He had, 32 points. He had 15 rebounds, and he had 10 assists. And he made his teammates better, right? And he passed the ball. He got the ball back. He made clutch shots. He was reminiscent of the old Joel Embiid by the way he played fluid. He played 46 minutes, So to me, don't get me wrong, Tyrese Maxey scored 6 of his points in overtime. He had 2 of his steals in overtime. So I'm not taking anything away from him. He was phenomenal. But I do feel like if Joel Embiid did not have the line that he had, and if Kelly Oubre didn't have the line that he had, the 76ers would have lost that game.
Absolutely. And the Sixers having Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, again, combined for the 68 points, that's pretty great. That's great. Love seeing that. Especially with the anniversary of his 70-point game. But when you look at being recent and all that, but the thing that really jumps out to me is not only did they combine for 68 points, they combined for 20 assists in this game as well. Embiid's 10 assists. Like, it's funny. I know a lot of people, and you're right to say this looks like the old version of Joel Embiid. Yeah, when it comes to scoring, when it comes to rebounding, absolutely. But 10 assists to me is the new version of Joel Embiid. And it's similar to what the executive was talking about. That's what you need to see from him, because you got other guys that can help you on this squad now, whether or not it's Paul George having a hot shooting night from the outside, whether or not it's Tyrese Maxey just doing the thing that we expect to see from Tyrese Maxey now, or it's Kelly Oubre going 10 for 14 from the floor, or it's VJ Edgecombe, whoever. You got guys around you that can score that basketball. And not only that, but taking the stress off yourself. 10 assists more or less means that that's 10 plays where you didn't try to force something on your own, force contact. And Joel Embiid he wasn't afraid of contact earlier. You talked yesterday about the matchup between Şengün and Embiid, and Embiid was a bully. Like, he was taking lunch money from Şengün yesterday. It was wild to watch. That was a great physical battle with Joel Embiid. Well, not much of a battle. It was pretty much Embiid dominant. And then in the second half, like, he had 3 assists at halftime. Second half, he started to be more of that facilitator and got 7 of assists in that second half and overtime combined. So that was a newer version of Joel Embiid that I would love to see more of as this season goes on, because that is the guy, as you mentioned, as the executive you talked to mentioned, that's the guy you really need him to be, a guy that can shift into more of that facilitator, into that joker role that even Embiid has talked about in years past.
Exactly. And the good thing is, they played the ball the right way. Now, granted, they both had their game high points, 36, 32. We talking about Joel. But the one thing is, we talked about it before with Maxey, it's a fine line, and I guess it's the same with Joel, right? It's one of those things where you're going to try to make passes, but if guys aren't making shots, you're going to stop and you're going to start gunning. You're going to have to focus on yourself. And sometimes when everything isn't going right, and you're focusing on yourself because other people aren't making shots, you become easier to defend. Well, I'm telling you, man, the Kelly has been the X factor for the 76ers since he's come back. Now, look, the last game he shot 5 for 10 on threes. He was 4 for 5 yesterday, and then the game before that, he was 2 for 3 on threes. So, he's starting to knock down these shots. And when we look at Kelly Oubre, no offense to him, but I didn't look at him as a guy who was going to be stretching the defense because of making 3-pointers. And right now he's being left wide open and he's killing teams for it. So that's when, Maxey can swing the ball, he can pass the ball instead of like trying to pit up X amount of shots a game, and the same for Joel, and they're going to be successful. And then the thing is, when Kelly Oubre does stuff like that, it opens up more things for the big two, right? It does. It opens up. And look at Paul George. He hit a couple threes too, So
overtime, man, he was clutch.
Yeah, exactly. And it was one shot, man, when they swung the ball to him. And I'm saying to myself, P, for your sake in this city, you're wide open, brother. You need to bury this one, because if not, they're going to be trying to run you out of town again. You remember the one where Embiid was on the floor and
that was the second three? Yeah,
the second one, right? You're like, boom, and then he hit it. So it's like one of those things where you're like, bruh, you stepped up when they needed you to. It really did. So that was a good one.
Yeah, he got a couple steals as well. I think he knocked a ball loose. Good outlets, big rebound, big block. He had down. I think it was late in the fourth quarter. He came up with, or excuse me, no, it was in overtime. He had the block down the defensive end, and then I think it was an outlet to Oubre, and he got the lay-in and made it 124-120 in the overtime period. But before we go any further, we have to get to this in the opening segment. Keith, I need you to explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old, how in the hell's bells is a goaltend in that situation not reviewable? I know it wasn't called, so they can't review it. I get it. But when it's that close, at the end of regulation, 3 seconds left, Maxey goes up. How is that not something that is either reviewed or caught by any other eyes that can challenge that play?
I'm going to be funny right here, and we'll talk about it more. Me no habla inglés. But here's the thing.
That makes no sense to me. No, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
It was a comedy of errors. I think people got caught up because it was Kevin Durant blocking it, right, pinning it against the glass. And then all of a sudden, and what I mean by the comedy of errors, it was like, or mistakes. So then all of a sudden, they try to get possession of the ball, but they don't have possession of the ball. The coach calls a timeout. And once he called timeout, it was kind of like, they're like, oh, well, what do we do? Like, first of all, he can't call a timeout because there's no possession of the ball. So I think that had a lot to do with it. I do.
That was rough. Even Maxey after the game, hey, were you surprised? He's like, I put the ball on the backboard. Like he even recreated it wearing the VJ Max cap, which I thought was pretty cool. But he's like, I even put it on the backboard. one thing I will say, not in the defense of the referees, but I'm sitting in my den. Okay, I'm sitting in my den watching this game last night, and I see the play happen in real time, and I go, goaltend. I get goaltend. Like and then I'm like, I'm sure the Sixers bench was going nuts too. They show the replay. I'm only looking at the Sixers bench, and nobody does anything. Nobody reacts, and I'm like, if you got an uproar over there, maybe you get the call, something. I don't know, but it was like I thought it was very interesting. It wasn't until after the fact. I don't know if Nick Nurse, after the fact, maybe he heard from maybe somebody on the bench saw the replay or something, and then he got pissed off. I don't know. But in the moment, I thought it was a goaltend, but nobody on the Sixers sideline reacted.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, from where I sit at, because like where the media seating is, it's way on the other side. So you can't really tell. But I'm just going to tell you that you know what they do in the home arenas whenever, like, the call is bad?
They put it up.
They put it up. And I think and they put it up slow-mo, right? And they kept playing it over and over again. And, and I think the one thing is, like, how you allow – I think initially they were upset because they're saying to themselves, how do you allow this guy to call a timeout when nobody really has the ball? They're fumbling for the ball. But, I think that part of it when it was over the when it was – when it was up on the Jumbotron, they were upset. But here's the thing. The one thing that a lot of people were talking about was that the fact that what typically happens when you're not sure, you always call a break in action on that and you review it. So the 76ers were kind of a little bit, what do you mean? You guys aren't reviewing this? Like, well, what's going on? You're not reviewing it? Like, but, it was a bad, I tell you, and I know we're going to talk about it more, but the referees really escaped the bullet. I mean, because that was on this was the thing that if you go on social media, you go everywhere, this is all people were talking about. And it would have been a bad look on the league, especially after they criticized Allah for a month ago for his comments that he made.
Know the rules. Know the rules.
Yeah. And they would have been like, Allah would have been like, hey, you know the rules. Know the rules. So. All
right. Well, I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more, but we got to get into a decision that was made yesterday about the starting lineup, and that has to do with Kelly Oubre. We'll talk about that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers and the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. Back after this. Hey, let me tell you about the Gametime app. You guys use the Gametime app? You should be using the Gametime app because the Gametime app is awesome. You want to get into the game? You want to get into the concert, the comedy show, NBA game? Gametime app has you covered. During the basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building and feeling that energy in the building that was in the Xfinity Mobile Arena last night in South Philadelphia. And Gametime gets you into that action. Fast, simple, and without all the guesswork of other ticketing sites. Gametime app has you covered when it comes to the big event, the concert, the comedy show, the basketball game. Browsing the Gametime app is straightforward. It's intuitive, and finding tickets, you can do it in just a couple of taps. You can view your seat's vantage point also on the Gametime app, so you're literally taking the guesswork out of buying tickets, even when you're talking about the price. All-in pricing. You see the price you're actually paying before you check out, so that when you go to check out, you're not like, whoa, how do these $40 tickets become $65? What is that? Not on the Gametime app. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use the redemption code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase on the Gametime app. Get into the game with the Gametime app. And, of course, how about the Everydayer Club? We hope that you guys are liking and subscribing to Locked On 76ers, Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. But also, make sure you guys are getting ad-free content, ad-free episodes of Locked On 76ers at lockedon76ers.supercast.com. You can sign up to be a part of the Locked On Sports Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Sign up for ad-free episodes of Locked On 76ers at lockedon76ers.supercast.com. So we talked a little bit, Keith, about the starting lineup yesterday. We talked about potentially Quentin Grimes, getting it going, maybe being put in the starting lineup at some point to just kind of put the quarter in the machine, get him going, knocking down some threes and all that, getting better at the outside shot and all that. But the change that was made yesterday, and I saw it first when you put out the starting lineup, Dominic Barlow coming off the bench, Kelly Oubre in the starting lineup. And Keith, I got to say, I liked what I saw last night. 26 points from Kelly Oubre, 10 of 14 shooting, and as you mentioned earlier, it was money from the three-point line last night.
Bruh. Yeah, he was money. I mean, like, dude, it was like to a point, and it was funny because, Nick, somebody was like, it was hilarious how it went down. Like, well, coach, what did you see? Was it a matchup? Was it a lineup thing? Like, what did you see to have Kelly in the starting lineup? And he said, nah, it was performance-based, right? Kelly deserves to be in it. Like, nah, forget the analytics, forget all this other stuff. It was performance. And it was something that we talked about before, like, you can't take Kelly out of the lineup, this and that. But then the more you looked at it and you saw how hard he was playing, right, you say to yourself, like, well, maybe I need to put him in there. I need to do it. Yeah. And he said, like, look, this is talking about Nick Nurse. I think Barlow has played outstanding and played outstanding again tonight. But Kelly obviously has been a pretty big spark plug, getting to the rim and just guarding, right? He says just guarding really good, tough matchup every night as well. So I went that way. He's pretty experienced as well. And you know what? It's like to a point where, like we talked about it, he had 26 points. You know what I mean? He made 4 or 5 threes. And here's the funny thing, that what they did is they had him guarding Sagoon, right? The all-star center for the Houston Rockets, the guy who we thought was going to give Joel Embiid fits. And they put Kelly Oubre on him, and Kelly did a pretty good job against him, and when he was switched on him. So, I mean, I look at Kelly, and now here's the big thing, Mark. It was a great switch of the lineup, and we know that Kelly's name has came up as a possible guy who could get traded. Dude, you can't get rid of him right now.
I agree.
You can't get rid of him. You can't, and I understand it. Right now, they're $7 million over the luxury tax threshold. They want to get rid of that. He's making 8.3. But if you get rid of Kelly Oubre, I think to the fans, that's saying we don't really want to win right now. Like we don't think we don't think we have a team that can get it done, because he is balling, dude. He is playing really well, extremely well.
No, I agree. I do not want to trade him. I think it does send a bad message. Now, look, there's the obvious, well, who could you get back? That type of thing. And if you're looking to get something back, Kelly Oubre would be a guy that'd be on the table. But I don't know what that deal looks like. And right now, I know that the Sixers are a better basketball team with him on the team, and the Sixers are a better basketball team with him in the starting lineup. And I know we've talked about in the past a lot about the Marc Ivoroni theory of you need a guy maybe in the starting lineup that kind of understands the spacing and lets everybody do their thing. Then you have somebody else come off the bench that obviously makes you better, and you can take advantage of a mismatch. I get that theory. But I also believe, and 99 times out of 100 believe, you put your best foot forward. You make it the problem of the other team to match up against you by putting your best out there. Kelly Oubre is part of that. Credit Dom Barlow, how hard he's worked, how well he's played, earning a starting spot for as long as he has. Kelly Oubre deserves to be in this starting lineup. And I know not every night's going to be 10 of 14. I know not every night's going to be 4 or 5 from beyond the arc. I know not every night's going to be like that. But he is always going to be a great source of energy in that starting 5. And he is someone that you could put in there to help spread the floor, help take advantage of that spacing created by the other scorers on that lineup. And he could also be a guy, as we've talked about a million times, that can be the guy when everybody else seems like they don't have that rhythm. Somehow he's just got that knack of being able to be that spark that can ignite the offense to get it going again. I absolutely love Kelly Oubre in that starting lineup.
I do too. And the thing was, to me, it was never really Kelly Oubre. It wasn't a concern about him. To me, it was, how is PG going to deal with playing against elite power forwards, right? You know what I mean? How is he going to match up against that? And, so to me, that was always the question mark. You know what I mean? Now, again, it worked out well. They had him and Kelly switching off of KD. Now we all know KD's a tough guard, right? But they were both like up in his face trying to do stuff. He was just making great shots.
Mhm.
But to me, is never really about Kelly, because I know what Kelly brings. He provides that energy. I just feel like I wonder, even though Nick Nurse said what he said, I wonder what happens if you have to guard, let's just say, Bam Adebayo. Are you trying to have PG guard him, right?
Yeah.
Like, do
No,
you
thanks.
really want that? You know what I mean?
Nope.
So
I'll
that's
answer
the
it right
thing.
now.
Yeah.
No.
No. But with these guys, I mean, don't get me wrong, they were long. I mean, you got Durant, who's now he's listed as 6'11", but I still think he's a 7-footer, right? But then you had two other seven, like they had three guys who were at least 6'11" on the floor. You know what I mean? And Sangoon and KD and the dude right now, I feel bad because his name kind of escapes me, but his father played for the Sixers back in the day. Oh my gosh.
Not Thompson.
Huh?
Not Thompson.
Not Thompson. Let me hear. You guys are going to kill me for this because I should know this. It is Jabari Smith Jr.
Okay.
So all three of those guys are listed at least 6'11". That's crazy. That was a big lineup, man. That was a huge lineup.
Damn. By the way, you mentioned Kevin Durant. Those back-to-back threes he missed, he eventually got a layup, I think. But in overtime, he missed those back-to-back threes where he had a chance at a wide-open one. Then he had a chance at a second chance, three-point attempt, clanked it, followed it up. I think he got his own rebound, and that's when he made the layup. I think every Sixers fan was holding their breath when they were watching that ball go through the air in overtime, because that was just a moment you were waiting for. It was like, all right, sooner or later, KD's going to make a couple of threes, and that's going to be a wrap. But nope, didn't come through last night. Didn't come through last night for the Rockets. When we come back, can they keep it going? The New York Knicks come to town for a 3:00 tip-off on Saturday. We'll take a look at that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers, the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Back after this. Hey, how about the FanDuel app, ladies and gentlemen? Especially when we're talking about NBA happy hour tonight, every Friday night from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on the FanDuel app. Fridays, they always feel a little bit different during the basketball season. Got a whole slate of games to look at. FanDuel is making them even better with Friday night happy hour on FanDuel. NBA happy hour is your official pregame limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time become appointment viewing with the NBA happy hour. Opening the FanDuel app during happy hour always brings something new, boosts, bonuses, surprises on the FanDuel happy hour show. Timing is perfect, by the way. So tip-off, right before tip-off, check out FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA happy hour. When you talk about the timing right before tip-off, couldn't be more perfect. You have a little basketball, a whole lot of action, and a whole lot of Friday night energy. 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, FanDuel NBA happy hour. The NBA happy hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, so do they keep it going against the Knicks? That's the question we need, Keith. You have a chance to go 3-3 on the 6-game homestand. You're not going to have another homestand like this many games. Can they put a cherry on top by beating the Knicks, a team they have now beaten 2 times in a row?
You know what? Here's the thing. You know what? The 76ers are the team, and I think they can do it, but the 76ers are a team that when you think they're going to lose, they win, and then when you get overconfident and think they're going to win, they lose, right? So that's
Every
the
time.
only thing that's like holding me back on it, right? But the New York Knicks got a huge Christmas gift last night when they played the Brooklyn Nets. Man, I looked at that score. It looked like a high school score. It looked like Roman Catholic playing the Enon Tabernacle Church All-Stars, right? Right? Like, look, they beat them 120-66. So, but the Knicks, let's face it, y'all, the Knicks have problems, right? They have a lot of problems. And I do think that the 76ers could win this game. The biggest question that a lot of people were asking yesterday was, does Joel Embiid play tomorrow? And the reason why they were saying that is because it's a 3:00 start, right?
Yep.
They don't know if that's enough rest for him. I hope he plays. I do. But I do think that the New York Knicks are like struggling mightily right now, because before that they lost 4 in a row in 5 of their last 6. And the only 2 teams they have defeated recently were the Brooklyn Nets, who are tanking, and the Portland Trail Blazers, another tanking team, right? And before that they had a victory over the Clippers, but after that they lost to the Hawks, they lost to the Sixers, they lost to the Pistons, right? And they lost to the Spurs, right? So when you factor that in, the Knicks are struggling mightily. This is a great time for the 76ers to, I hate to say it, but put their foot on their throat and then just try to stop them out, because, this would be a big win for the Sixers. They can get it. So I do think they will win this game. I do.
All right, this is just me trying to do math, which is a terrible idea. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 1-5 6 road games, the New York Knicks. So, and this is obviously a road game for them. Hopefully they catch them. Another lull on the road for the New York Knickerbockers, that's for sure. As far as Joel Embiid goes, yeah. Look, like I'm looking at the comments, Keith, and I saw something in here. It really did. It moved me in a really good way. And where's my man at? Here we go. Walter Short. Here at work, still buzzing off this win. Great win. Hell yeah. Like the Sixers, look, the Eagles are done. They're looking for an offensive coordinator. The Flyers are up and down. Phillies are disappointing. This, with Joel Embiid playing the way he played last night, he keeps that same type of mindset. Tyrese Maxey having the season he's having already, just continuing that. Kelly Oubre back in the lineup, all that stuff. This could be a really fun team to watch. The Sixers have a phenomenal opportunity here to turn some heads. Just go even on this homestand, beat the Knicks again, and then just try to keep it rolling in some way, shape, or form. And you could get this city excited about the 76ers and what they could bring the 76ers could bring the city by the season's end. Be in a spot where you look really good by the end of the year. Be a playoff team, not a play-in tournament team. Be a play-in or a playoff team, not a play-in tournament team. And you can turn a lot of people's heads. And this is a great opportunity for the Sixers to grab the attention of the city. So Joel Embiid, don't let 4 hours bother you. Okay, 3 o'clock versus 7 o'clock. Be out there doing your thing, friend. Be out there doing your thing. Keith Pompey, Inquirer.com. Make sure you guys are reading him on Inquirer.com. Marc Farzetta, great to have you along for the ride. We'll be back with you guys again. Well, Monday, snow or not. Hopefully we just have power, knock on wood, and bring you guys a program. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You guys are great. Like and subscribe, Locked On 76ers, and make sure you got – go for it.
Can I say something before I go? I just want to give it – and I normally don't give out shout-outs, but I got to give my man Chad at Adrenaline Sports Performance in Cherry Hill a shout out for allowing me to do this here. It's been a busy morning, and I'm like literally sitting and I'm literally like sitting in like the entrance of his gym, like doing his thing. So I want to give him a shout out for making accommodations so we could do this show.
Please thank him for me as well, because I'm the idiot. We're supposed to do this at 7:30 this morning. I had a crazy morning.
No, bro. No, idiot. Like there you go. You always. Hey, this dude is this. Hey, y'all. Marc is a great dude, but he's always like saying stuff. Nah, man. Be quiet, man. Like come on,
you're right.
Man.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm awesome.
Yeah,
you're right. I'm
on.
amazing.
Talking about. Relax, homie.
That Catholic guilt, man. It's just it's crazy. All right, Keith Pompey. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be at your house on Monday shoveling your driveway. That's how guilty I'm going to feel about it.
Well, that'll work. Well, it was Mark's fault. It's like, nah, it's all good. Don't even.
Keith Pompey. All right, have a great weekend, my friend. Appreciate you. Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching all that stuff. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Back with you guys on Monday. See you guys then. Bye.
Okay.